All right, let's get into it. We're talking about a massive controversy today, one that's been hanging over one of the world's biggest food companies for a full 50 years. It's a really complex story about baby food, corporate ethics, and a scandal that, believe it or not, just keeps coming back.
And to kick things off, I want you to just think about this phrase, health apartheid. That's what public health experts are calling this, and it really gets to the heart of what we're looking at today. This idea that a baby's health could be so different depending on where in the world they're born.
And here is where it gets just wild. A recent investigation looked at Nestlé's baby cereals, and what they found is pretty shocking. In Europe, the same exact products, 0 added sugar. But if you're in parts of Asia, Africa, or Latin America, well, those same cereals could have up to 6 grams of added sugar in a single serving.
So you have to ask, right? How is this still going on? To really get the answer, we can't just look at today. We have to go back in time. 50 years back, to be exact. Okay, section 1. Let's start with the problem that's happening right now, the one that brought this whole thing back into the headlines.
So, here's the breakdown from that investigation by a group called Public Eye. What they found was that Nestlé's Cerelac baby cereal sold across the global south is loaded with added sugar. And this isn't just a small thing. It flies directly in the face of what the World Health Organization recommends. The WHO is crystal clear. Kids under 3 should have 0 added sugars, period.
Now, this is shocking for sure, but here's the thing. This isn't a new problem, not at all. It's actually an echo, a repeat of a much older and you could argue much more devastating scandal from the 1970s.
So back then, the accusation was that Nestlé was putting profits way ahead of infant safety. The claim was that they had this whole marketing playbook designed to push infant formula on some of the most vulnerable new mothers in the world. And you have to see how all these tactics work together, because it was really systematic. They'd give out free formula samples in hospitals, right? Well, that can make it really hard for a mother to keep breastfeeding. Then they'd have sales reps dressed up as milk nurses, making it seem like it had a medical stamp of approval. And the really terrible part? This was all happening in places without reliable, clean water to even mix the formula with safely. The results were just devastating. You had families who couldn't afford to buy enough formula, so what did they do? They'd water it down to make it last longer, but that just robs it of all the nutrition. Mix that with dirty water, and you get this horrible, tragic cycle of malnutrition, disease, and in the worst cases, preventable deaths.
But people started to find out what was going on. And when they did, the world fought back. It became this massive global movement.
And this timeline really shows you how it all unfolded. It kicked off in 1974 with this bombshell report, literally called the baby killer. That lit a fire, and by 1977, a huge international boycott against Nestlé was in full swing. This pressure worked. By 1981, the World Health Organization stepped in and created a whole new international code. And eventually, in '84, Nestlé agreed to follow it. And that code, it was a really big deal. It was basically designed to stop all of those aggressive marketing tactics we just talked about. It put really strict rules in place about how you could and couldn't market things like infant formula.
So okay, a global code is in place. The boycott worked. You'd think, great, problem solved, right?
Well, not exactly. Because like we saw right at the start of this whole thing, that core problem, the double standard, it never really disappeared. Fast forward 50 years. The boycott is kind of ancient history, the code's on the books, and yet here we are with a story that sounds eerily familiar.
Just look at this comparison. It's unreal. Back in the 70s, it was a risky product that could be dangerous if misused. Today, it's an unhealthy product that goes against global health guidelines. The excuse changed from, we're meeting market needs, to, we're adapting to local tastes. But the root of the problem? It's exactly the same. It's about applying a lower standard of health and safety in some parts of the world than in others.
And one expert put it so bluntly. They called it colonial-era exploitation dressed in corporate social responsibility language. The idea is, yeah, the words sound nicer now, but the fundamental dynamic, it hasn't changed a bit. So after 50 years of this, we're left with some really big and frankly, really uncomfortable questions about how all of this works, about big corporations, about global rules, and about what we owe to the most vulnerable people on the planet. So here's the first one.
If Nestlé can sell sugar-free baby food in Europe and make a profit, why are they adding sugar in other countries? Is it really, truly about local preference, as they say? Or is it about exploiting weaker regulations and seeing what they can get away with?
And that leads to this bigger ethical question. Should companies have a single global standard for their products? Is it okay to sell a lower quality, less healthy version of something to people just because they live in a country with less consumer power? I mean, should a baby in one country get a different standard of health than a baby somewhere else?
And that brings us to maybe the toughest question of all. After half a century of this, after the boycotts, the international codes, the bad press, why does this keep happening? You have to start looking beyond just one company and ask, what is it about the system itself that makes these decisions profitable enough to risk the PR nightmare over and over again? What really has to change to make this 50-year echo finally go quiet?